Hi there. I want to talk about Michael Cohen and mental health. Now, yes, this is in part in response to what's happening at the moment, what they're preparing for in New York and all the rest of it. But this is a video that I've wanted to do for a while. I find this chap fascinating, his journey fascinating. Um, on this channel, I have a wish list of people I would love to interview. Michael Cohen is on that list, and that list is famous people and non-famous people. But Michael Cohen is really high on that list because his journey through all of this is really just monumental. Um, the thumbnail photo for this video comes from an interview that he did on ABC News 3 days ago. And that's what spurred me to actually just bite the bullet and make this video. I cannot look at that photo, that still, and how he looks in interviews at the moment without my heart going out to him. I can see the stress. I can see how wrung out he is by this whole process. This is a guy that looks like, he knows that this part is coming to an end, but there is so much more that he has got himself involved in testifying for, giving evidence for, all of those things. Now, Michael Cohen used to be a lawyer. He has been declared in the media as a fixer for Donald Trump. He started working for him in 2006. So this journey is, 14, no, 15, 16, 17 years old. I can't do maths. Um, you know, that's a huge amount of time to be under this weight. Not to mention the fact that he pled guilty to tax evasion and campaign finance violations, and he says he was coerced into pleading guilty. He was told that if he didn't, he had the weekend to think about it, but if he didn't plead guilty by Monday, they would go after his wife and his family. Real mob tactics, according to Michael Cohen. And he has lawsuits pending about this, freedom of information requests about his case. He was put in prison. He was given a 3-year sentence, and he was released on home confinement in 2020 during COVID. The conditions of that were that he couldn't speak to the media and he couldn't write his book. Basically, he had no First Amendment rights. Now, the First Amendment is freedom of speech without the government oppressing it. It's not, everyone throws around First Amendment, but it is purely to stop the government from stopping the population from speaking out against them. So the government can't turn around and say, no, you can't talk about X, Y, and Z unless there is a national security reason or whatever else. And there wasn't in this case. He continued to speak in the media and kind of talk about the book that he was writing, and he was put back in federal prison. He was put into solitary confinement for 51 days while he appealed. Now, we all have some kind of experience with lockdowns and COVID. That's my frame of reference, right? I can't imagine being locked up on my own for 51 days. No human interaction. And I know I'm smiling about this, but it's because my brain just cannot fathom that idea. Now, it was bad enough during COVID, having to be at least 6 feet away from friends, family, whoever, not being able to have someone come visit, not being able to go and visit someone else, not even being able to interact with people when I went to pick up shopping or went for a walk, whatever it is. I cannot fathom the idea of 51 days completely on my own in a tiny cell. I know people who lived on their own during COVID, and they really felt it. They struggled in terms of their mental health badly. And that was in, their own space where they had streaming services and access to phone calls and online gaming and being able to do video calls. Michael Cohen didn't have any of that. We are social creatures. We, on the outside, are still dealing with the mental health effects of COVID. But he didn't have that. And my mind just cannot comprehend how torturous that was. We're social creatures. We instantly build a community around us. It is really hard to live a completely solitary life. Now, yeah, there are examples of people who can, but that's not the standard for how our brains work. Now, we know that solitary confinement has a big effect. It's been studied. It has a giant effect on our psyche, our physical health. People who have been put in solitary confinement have a lower life expectancy even after they come out. It changes the brain structure. You add into that mental health problems and PTSD, which also changes your brain structure. Suddenly, that's a much bigger problem to face. It has a huge toll. And that's really where I'm at with this. Like, I just cannot fathom that. He's now using his platform for, to expose and to right the wrongs as he sees them, to make amends. And that's all any of us can do is try to do the right thing, even if that change comes after such a terrible situation. Taking the blame, the fall for someone else. And we've all been there, whether we were kids and, a friend was caught lying and we took the blame, or whether we do that as an adult, as a lawyer, a fixer, whoever. But he now looks like a man who knows that this part is almost over, but there's still a huge amount of work that he wants to do and is involved in. He's given so much information and evidence and testimony to various investigations. And just because this part is almost over, according to Donald Trump, he'll be indicted today. He's the only person saying it. And then you have people screaming, "Oh, leak." No, Donald Trump said it. I'm not convinced it's going to happen today, but who am I? But Michael Cohen has received this horrific backlash from Trump supporters, people in his inner circle. It's still taking this massive toll. And he seems to me to be fighting the injustice outside of himself as a way of controlling what he's feeling inside. And I feel that on a very deep level. I become obsessed with injustice. I get very angry and I want to do something about it. You can't stop this war zone that's going on in your head, the noise and chaos that is happening inside of you. So you concentrate on the fight you can win outside of yourself, whether that's a big or small thing. You focus everything you are on anything that you can change, anything that you can have some kind of effect on. For Michael Cohen, he has a lot to focus on outside of himself, as a way of trying to balance that. But there's a lot of good that he can do ultimately. But I just hope he's getting the help that he needs for the inside bit, because when you run out of things that you can affect outside of yourself, that just leaves what's going on inside of you. And eventually you have to face that. And that's hard on your own. That's hard if you haven't already put some work in. So I really hope he is getting some serious help on a psychological point of view, on a physical point of view, and that he is looking after himself, because he still has a long way to go in terms of all of this legal stuff. Regardless of your politics, on a human level, I think we can all understand to an extent that, you know, this takes a big toll. It's a big thing to do, especially in this kind of situation with a divide in politics, and with Trump calling for protests and taking the nation back and all of the rest of it. So, Mr. Cohen, if you ever see this, please look after yourself. Please look after your mental health. I really hope that you are getting the help that you need. Keep being creative, keep channeling it into something good, but make sure you look after you first. And if you ever fancy having a chat and an interview, let me know. Let me know what you think about the toll on mental health. How would you cope with solitary confinement? Can you relate to it on any level? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But again, this isn't about the politics. Please don't come at me with kind of divisive stuff. Let's keep it respectful. And until next time, look after yourselves.